What?
I did not.
That we
Anyone
started?
post that?
Well, I
That
tweeted
they were
out that we
doing.
were going to start and whatever, and I gave the link.
I just got here.
I
You
didn't know
want
if you wanted to do that or not. Want me to do the music?
to? Yeah.
Hit
All
it.
right, hit it.
Hit it.
Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. The clock has started. The clock has started. Five, four, three, two, one. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
And welcome to Pressing for Flight, live from the Space Coast, where the schedule never holds. Just like
Never ever.
tonight. Just like
Yeah.
tonight, where
Yeah.
we were hoping to see Pegasus launch from beneath the Stargazer aircraft. And they've aborted thanks to lack of communication with the aircraft. Thank you, Emery Kelly, for that tweet.
Slightly important.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be able to talk to your pilots, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. But there are other things. Hey, maybe that'll give us an opportunity to go out there and see it take off tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah, run out to the beach. I thought about going out and seeing it, and I got kind of distracted with something.
Are you going to be able to see it from land? Because from what I understand, you're not going to be able to see it from land.
Not the launch itself, but the plane takes off from the skid strip at the Air Force Station.
Ah, gotcha.
So yeah,
Okay.
you probably be able to, just there it goes.
Yeah, right.
It's not gonna. It's definitely not the same excitement as a launch, but it's just always neat just to be able to see that kind of stuff. So, what's going on in space? Well, did you guys watch the Elon and Jim Bridenstine talk? I know Matt's been working all day.
Yeah, I've been working. Man, no. But details, please, sir.
Well, you didn't miss a whole lot, honestly. It was just a lot of talk about where they are, what they still have to get accomplished, and a little bit of talk about the explosion back in April and why that happened and how it improved stuff. They've moved. I didn't even know that Mark whatever was a thing with their parachutes, but they have now moved to Mark III parachutes.
Okay.
I guess the company making them or working with SpaceX on developing them is it's called Airborne, and they have upgraded. He said that one of the biggest things had to do with the lines that actually go from the Dragon to the canopy, and also the attachment points. Because where those lines attach to the canopy is a potential point of failure, I guess is.
Gotcha.
So they worked on ways of sewing it. They actually mentioned the people sewing this thing. It's kind of neat. I guess they sew these parachutes by hand.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Maybe it's by hand, but with like a sewing machine or something. You know what I mean? But there's people involved. It's not just like a big machine doing it.
I wonder if that's what Jean used to do back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Didn't she used to work on those the
Yeah.
shuttle parachutes? Right.
Yeah, she's one of the Sow sisters. So, Jean, if you just happen to be watching this, if you could message me that answer, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Did you guys used to do the parachutes back in the day?
Yeah. I bet she was watching that. Very interested. They have several more parachute drop tests to do. They still have to redo the static fire of Dragon. Not like we're used to hearing about Falcon 9 static fires. That will happen before the in-flight abort test, of course. But I'm getting distracted over here. There's lots of lights going on with the
minutes we've
Pegasus
switched
rocket.
our,
Do you still see it,
frequency,
Kegel?
Com
Yeah.
Delta 11 to 133.80, and we're going to stick on that for the remainder of the operation.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to see if they maybe were saying that they're going to try to recycle.
I guess they turned the lights on the plane. Or
Yeah,
or
I guess
something?
that's what that is. I mean, it looks like almost like ambulance lights or something, like
Yeah.
spinny red alarm lights.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I wish they would just
It's
launch it already.
they're
Gosh.
having a Kmart special.
I mean, they're still within the window, but I guess they
Yeah.
they call an abort. They're not just going to go right back and redo it. I mean, if they do another pass, that's different. But I don't think they're gonna launch in the next 10 minutes or whatever's left in the window. I think there's like 15 minutes or so left.
I
So
guess as long as we regain communication, I mean, there's not a technical issue. So
yeah.
maybe because they said they had till what 10:45 was the window.
10:55, I think it was a 25-minute window. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so
So
that's they still got plenty of time. So what's this camera angle that I'm looking at? Is that from
You're-
the
the
front?
back of it.
Yeah, you're
Oh, that's
looking.
back.
You're looking at the
Yeah.
business
Oh,
end.
The business end.
And Peg, verify power status.
LC Pegasus is on external power.
Okay, copy
Oh, it's on
Oh
no,
yeah.
that's external power. That means the plane is still powering it.
Yeah.
They would say internal, right? If they were actually moving forward.
That's true. I've been working all day, man. I'm out of
As you
it.
heard, we are ready for another launch attempt and are waiting for a new T0.
Oh, look
Oh,
at that.
cool.
An update
Try again.
shortly. NASA's Ed Chris Gersh caught up with an Icon principal
Okay, so they're going to talk
investigator
about that
Thomas
stuff. All right, so let me try to kind of summarize. Yeah, they're going to try to do 10 more drop tests at least, and they'll do more obviously if they feel like they need to. They need to do the static fire of Dragon of the Super Dracos, which is the abort system, the one that blew up the Dragon back in April. They have to redo that, and then they have to actually do the in-flight abort. And what we're hearing is they're talking like end of April, beginning of December, right, for the in-flight abort. Does that
The
sound
last
right?
time I saw it was November.
Okay, sometime in November.
Yeah, they're saying right around mid November or so. November? No, I take that back. My apologies. November 27th.
Okay, all right, cool. So yeah, end of November. I mean, that could still obviously get pushed back. These things,
Right, of
yeah.
course. Everything kind of never really holds with these type of things, but that's fine. I'm gonna make sure that that's perfect when you have a lot of money on stake. So
Yeah. Oh, and one of the reporters actually asked Jim Bridenstine about the tweet.
oh no.
And he said I think he played it well. He said that his job as the administrator is to or one of his jobs is to make sure all the contractors are on time, and he expressed annoyance that that there's not a whole lot of realism when it comes to schedule schedule quotes and stuff. But he also pointed out that we have a lot of programs that are in development, and when you're in development, then schedules it's like it's anybody's guess.
Right.
He's like, when we start moving more into operational phase, then he expects a lot of these schedule things to kind of firm up and be a little more predictable. And he said that he wasn't intending to single out SpaceX with that. It's a kind of a call to all of the.
Whatever. He was pissed.
Oh yeah.
He was pissed. He was just like, "Dang it! Look what they're doing. Look what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
behind."
Yeah, I'm sure he is. And I mean, because if you remember, I don't know if it was a year ago or when that was at the Space Council meeting when Mike Pence and Jim Bridenstine, I'm pretty sure they were both talking about, if our contractors can't get on time, then we'll find other contractors that can, which was at that time they were talking about Boeing. We were talking about SLS, I mean, really, all the SLS contractors, there's Lockheed, there's Boeing, and then there's who builds the boosters? It's not still Morton Thiokol, is it?
I thought it was the same one.
Is it still? I mean, I know they're the same ones, but I want to say that it's like changed names or something. Or is it Orbital? Oh, maybe it's Northrop Grumman.
Yeah, I think in Northern Grome. I know they do the second stage.
Yeah, and they make solids for ULA too. So yeah, that was his thing. He was kind of dodging it, I think he doesn't he didn't necessarily mean it. I think he feels a lot of pressure from other politicians. There's a lot of a lot of other politicians that have a vested interest in SLS, and they don't want SLS to be embarrassed by the progress that SpaceX is making with Starship. And so I think Jim Bridenstine is just in a hairy situation, and he wants to get that thing flying.
Yeah,
then
I
you
mean, I don't
see-
blame him. You got all this money involved, of course.
Yeah, and then you
You know,
see all the
that's-
progress that they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing, a place like NASA, who's they do fantastic stuff. Don't get me wrong, but now they're being compared to like what SpaceX is doing, and I could see why he's frustrated. I could see why he said that. You know what I mean? SLS is extremely behind schedule.
Right.
You know what I mean? They've been in extremely over budgeted. You know what I mean? That's not, we should all be kind of, taking awareness of that because that's our that's our taxpayers' dollars. You know what I mean? So it's like, why is this not being so? For him to say, "Hey, I'm going to find other contractors," I don't blame him one bit. You know what I mean? But I definitely see with them having a meeting like that, I definitely see NASA definitely partnering up with SpaceX on a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely see them because they see that SpaceX can deliver. You know what I mean? Say, hey, we're going to do this, and they deliver. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to totally SpaceX fanboy right now, but it's the truth.
Right.
It really is the truth. They deliver. So
And he
Does it
did.
look like the postal service?
Yeah. SpaceX
Oh
is
yeah.
the postal
Hey,
service.
10
Redefine
p.m. 10 p.m. is the next drop attempt.
Yep, 10 p.m. So
Cool.
that's only 16 minutes from now. Cool. And he also brought up Starship towards the end.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and he said that NASA is definitely watching Starship and has been working with SpaceX on certain aspects of Starship on a
See,
what do they call it when like there's no exchange of funds, but they do exchange information. Basically, if SpaceX needs help on a certain thing, and I think he said that one of the big things is aerodynamics, and that would make a lot of sense. Because that is not an easy problem to solve, having that
Right.
big ass thing belly flop, these
of
big old
course.
flaps on it. I think it's a lot of it is political.
Yeah.
It seems like it went from not really being supportive to all of a sudden swinging back and leads to the next thing I was going to talk about, which is I think that they are trying to buddy up with SpaceX because I think it's becoming apparent that SpaceX is actually ahead on the commercial crew timeline.
Yep.
Just
Whereas
a little bit.
a few months ago, it didn't seem that way. Right after the explosion, it was like, oh, Boeing's gonna do their uncrewed test, and then like there was talk like they're gonna do that test, and then like a couple months later they're gonna be ready to fly crew, and then there was all this talk about turning that first crewed flight, which is supposed to be like a 1 week stay, turning that into an actual operational mission, which would mean they would stay there anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. And I remember in like the SpaceX fanboy circles being like, well, how come they would consider Boeing for turning their test flight into an operational mission and not SpaceX? Well, we've got our answer now, and I've heard it in a few different forums, but I think they did mention it on this. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was something else earlier today. But basically, when that Dragon blew up, it meant that they had to take, because that was the Dragon that was originally going to be in the in-flight abort test. So
Right.
it was the one that was the uncrewed test that went up to the space station, was there for a few days, and came back. They were going to use that for their in-flight abort test. But since they blew it up, they had to take the next capsule that they had on the assembly line, which was intended to be their crewed test, which was only intended to be up at the space station for a few days, maybe a week. That is the capsule that's going to be used for the in-flight abort test now, and then the capsule after that, which was originally intended to be their operational capsule, the one that was intended to stay up there for a full mission duration, that one will now be the crewed test. So basically, it shuffled those capsules forward, and now the capsule that is going to be on the crewed test flight will be capable. We'll have all the hardware necessary to do a full duration. So the problem that NASA is facing right now is that they only have, I think it's one more ride left that they've paid for on the Russian Soyuz, right? And they're in the process of determining if they need to go ahead and buy some more seats. And that's at about 84 million per seat, not per flight, per seat. Every astronaut they send, they pay Russia that much money.
Chunk change.
Yeah. That they're, let's see.
Yeah, they did say. I remember them saying that with the next actual crewed flight, when they actually do it and they dock with the International Space Station, they were saying that the astronauts, astronaut Doug and the other guy, they're going to have to stay at the International Space Station a little bit longer than what they had originally anticipated.
Right, yeah.
So they're actually going to be chilling up there for a good while, and that's fine.
That's what they're looking at now because, I mean, it's because of this lack of seats left. You know, they don't want to have to buy more seats on the Soyuz. Once they get flying, once, you know, Starliner and the Dragon both get flying, it's just going to be an equal trade. We'll still fly with them, of course, and they'll fly with us, and there won't be an exchange of funds. It'll just be an exchange of services. And that's how it was.
Cool,
yeah, that's how it was with the space shuttle. You know, we would still fly on the Soyuz back then.
And then they would still come here and fly on the
shuttle.
Yeah, I can't wait until we start launching our astronauts again.
I know.
Oh, it's gonna be such good content. I can't wait, man.
Bring another level of excitement back in the Space Coast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to see the the cosmonauts coming over here and loading up. You know what I mean? It's gonna be cool.
Did you know that they have a tradition over in Russia before the astronauts get on the rocket where they stop somewhere on the road towards the launch pad. They get out of the van and they piss on the tire.
Do they really?
They do that. And then for the women, I guess for the women, because it all, of course, started. It was only men that were going up. But nowadays, if the woman would feel more comfortable, then they'll bring a little like cup of piss and pour it on the tire.
What?
Yeah.
One for their homies.
Yeah.
No way. You gotta do it live.
Oh, man, I wish I could remember where I heard about this, man. It was some documentary or I don't know. It's probably a podcast. I don't know. But I just thought that was so funny. I love that. Like, you know, everything's so. It's like it seems like in the space industry, everything is just so dry, and you know, there's not a lot of being human. Like we're gonna stop. And we're gonna get out and piss on the tire. So.
Very interesting tradition.
Yeah.
Gotta mark their territory on the tire every time.
We're claiming this flat.
Okay, yeah. So one of the reasons that this is a big issue with like it's not easy for NASA to just go buy these seats because there is this thing it's called the Iran, North Korea, and Syria Non-Proliferation Act, or INCSNA. It prohibits the U.S. purchase of Russian high-tech goods and services from Russia, primarily due to Russian support of nuclear and military programs in Iran and Syria. So in order for NASA to buy these seats, they have to get Congress to approve it. They have to waive this thing. Like in all military and I guess civilian too, we're not supposed to buy these services from Russia. And so NASA, and they've always gotten the waiver, but it takes that extra time. And so I think they're in this weird position where they're trying to decide, well, do we even need to buy the seats, or are Dragon and Starliner going to be ready in time? I don't know. It'd be really cool to see Dragon. Well, I mean, we'll get to it eventually, but to see Dragon actually stay up there for a full duration. That'll be pretty neat. And then get to
Definitely.
see it come back. See these two boys look all haggard. Oh wait, what time is it? Oh, 9:50.
Yeah.
I got time.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, man. Me personally, there's a few launches that I'm absolutely stoked about. One of them is, of course, another heavy launch. I want to go see another Falcon Heavy launch. That launch is just phenomenal. If anybody's never seen one, I'm ready for the new Blue Origin launch. I'm looking forward to the ULA launch.
Vulcan, yeah.
Yeah, Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan, man. As far as like aesthetics and like for photography, I think I'm most looking forward to the Vulcan because it's going to have that beautiful blue flame with the solid rocket boosters on the side.
I mean, New Glenn is too. And that
Well,
thing's-
New Glenn's not going to have the solids. It's just going to be all blue. And so the thing that I really liked about the Delta 4 medium was that it was yellow, but it was that clear yellow flame with the solids on the side. I just thought that was really cool.
They're gonna have the Vulcan symbol somewhere on the rocket. I would for fun. Some nerd there's got to do it.
it's
A
gonna be
little
cool,
sticker.
man. It's definitely gonna be cool. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to bring up the action that I saw at the port this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky
Ooh,
there.
really cool.
Yeah, I just went up there and
Just wanted to go hang out, huh?
yeah, just went to go see. I mean, first day back, figure,
Of course.
maybe go see because I think the day before they were doing drop tests out there.
Yeah, I
right?
was
Doing the
working
fair.
out. I was working out at Jetty Park, and some of the people that work there said they were out there dropping it in the basin out there.
Oh, you didn't get to see it?
No, I didn't. No, it's just what some of the whatever park employees were telling me.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's not like you might think. Like it's not like they're lifting it up really high and then just dropping it into the net. It's I've seen them do it, and it's actually pretty slow. It's kind of hard to tell that there's any motion. Like they're just I think what they're doing because it seemed like when I was watching they were dropping it kind of like close to the corners and just I think they're just testing different regions of the net to make sure that everything is copacetic. Nothing, it's not like if it drops right here, then that's gonna rip, or like we have a weak point or something over there. Let's see. I have the video up here on my screen. I mean, if you're watching this, then you can already see it. I don't even have to tell you. It's right there. And I was trying to figure out what they were doing. Obviously, I can't hear what they're saying or anything like that, but with as many people as were out there, it was two boats just full of people, but there was only one guy getting on the test article that I could tell. And, I mean, maybe I missed something, but I'm not even sure he climbed in. So it almost seemed like it was just kind of like a demonstration kind of thing. Like these might have been like NASA officials or they might have even been Roscosmos officials or, just different maybe agencies or something that need to look and see what their processes are,
So that was the people that were in the boats.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just my guess. I'm totally
Okay.
guessing here. I'm trying to because it didn't seem like they were necessarily practicing much.
Right.
It was more like this is like the dude was like standing there talking to him is almost what it seemed like. And every once in a while, the boats would kind of drift away from the test article, and then it'd come back, and I just couldn't make out what they were doing.
That's
We need to invest in one of those dishes, the sound dishes like you see at the football games.
Yeah.
And we're gonna so they tap in.
Right.
Get arrested.
What you doing?
Okay, let's see where are we at here. 9:57. Let's see what kind of audio
Be
we got
hearing
going.
the same calls again and again, which is great. Like these are all really important parts of the equation here. You've gotten to sit on console before, correct, Malcolm?
That's correct.
Can you talk about kind of the experience? Like, what's that like? Especially in a situation like this where you're recycling and there's a lot going on really fast.
Becca, do you have
what's
your
that feel
notes
like?
from Starship? Did you
Well, it
want
feels tense.
talk about that?
You're watching your data.
I know
Yeah.
I know you meant to
situation
rewatch
already
that
because
presentation,
you've-
but
I'm sorry, you've aborted.
did
I
you?
had a very,
But you're
very
watching
busy
your
day
system
today.
and
Yeah,
I
I
did not
know,
really
it's
have.
risky for the,
I didn't have the
calming,
opportunity to go back over it again, but
voice of
I do have all the
engineer or
notes that I
launch
took.
conductor
and making sure.
Yeah.
And I'd like to read them
report out
just
your
verbatim,
subsystem.
honestly.
verbatim?
Just exactly, yeah, exactly how I wrote
Really
them.
Okay.
really focus on
So you
all the
guys can see
practice
what I'm
sessions
working
that you've
with.
had.
Well,
with,
let's see. I just have it on deck because we're only like 2 minutes out. I just wanted
Oh,
to
yeah.
see if you were
Our
like
job
if
is,
you were
there's
down to
definitely
do
pressure
that.
here, but
Oh, I'm
certainly it's different when you're
prepared,
back
yeah.
there because you're the ones making sure that
He's
this
ready.
rocket's going to be safe and the spacecraft is going to get where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
There's people that have invested years of their lives, if not entire careers, on these science missions. So we're proud to be a part of this process.
Yeah, they've pretty
as we
much got
near
that thing
our
dismantled now.
dropping
The
point
Starship
again,
over
can you
there.
tell us, recap again for
Got
us the
some of
role
those
of the pilot
flaps.
tonight?
Yeah, they've got some of those
Yeah.
flaps taken
Pilot
off and stuff.
he's watching.
We should be
the
getting our
flying
flaps
plane,
soon.
First of all, and he's also transporting.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to do the flaps before they take it out to Kennedy or not.
Final decision
Right.
to release the
Nah,
release the
they
vehicle,
wouldn't.
and begin the
You don't
powered
think they
flight
would?
I don't think
Wouldn't that
they.
just make it harder
make
to
it bigger.
transport?
Yeah, yeah,
Sure,
I
let's
would
see if we can
think
toss
so.
up the tail end of that rocket again. I'm hoping
bet
that we
they'll
might
wait.
be able to catch. They do.
But supposedly
a,
someone caught a
fin
picture
sweep,
of some
to make
flaps,
sure that
but
the
I'm not
communications
sure
are
I've
working
seen
well.
it.
This is about the time.
Yeah, I
last
haven't
time
seen
through the
anything.
track that we lost communication. So definitely very anxious moments here. Again, in this final minute or so.
Yeah,
still
anxious
targeting
moments.
about
Yeah,
10
why are
o'clock.
they
I'm gonna let
losing?
you
I
listen
mean,
in and just kind of
isn't that what
enjoy,
they're studying here?
What's happening around us?
The ionosphere's effect on our communications. Are
It's
they
not like he's flying. It's not like he's flying like 80 miles out over the water. He's cruising down the coast like
Well, no, it's. I mean,
10
it's.
miles.
No,
LC
they're
Peg,
out
go
further.
for
They're like.
1500 track.
I think it was
LPO,
that they
go
were
for
going to be like
1500
52.
Oh, we got some movement. Uh-oh.
They're like 50 to 100 miles out, and they're 40,000 feet up.
Uh-oh. Let's do this.
LC, Senior MEFCO countdown,
Oh.
L1011 is in the box.
Yeah.
Huey in the box.
I like that.
Little shaking his
Heading
tail
and ground
fin.
speed are green.
LC Peg. Peg is go for launch.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh.
Go for launch. PLT confirm.
Let's do it.
Let's see this missile go.
Stand by.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think
And drop
mine
on
must
my
be
mark.
behind.
I heard stand by.
Oh.
Nope. She dropped.
3,
No way.
2,
Yep. She dropped.
1.
How long of a delay is this?
Man, yeah.
Right?
Pegasus
There it
is
Well, I
goes.
have mine on
Yeah.
the live TV. There she is. Whoa.
Vehicle is fully
Nice.
armed. Stage 1
Pegasus
ignition has been
XL,
confirmed.
Launching Icon to explore
Yeah,
and unlock
like
the
Matt's
mysteries
like
of the weather
5 or 10 seconds ahead of
and
us.
space.
Yeah.
Transonic.
I like
there it
the
goes.
3D imaging of it.
There it goes. Yeah.
And she's
Stage
cut
1
off.
fin actuator system is operating nominally and controlling
It's a
the
bright
aerodynamic
dot.
flight of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coming up on
Finally.
30 seconds into the Icon mission.
Go rocket.
That thing
Vehicle
is like a little
passed
space
through
plane,
Mach
isn't it?
Q. Attitude
Pretty
remains
much.
nominal.
Oh, that was cool.
Did someone's high school kid
All
make
power
this?
buses nominal. All vehicle subsystems
Rendering.
are operating as expected.
So somebody, yeah, oh no, I guess it would be too far out to get it even. Unless somebody is out there with a
Stage 1
telescope.
burnout
they
in
might be able
approximately
to-
20 seconds.
That's what I figured. I thought maybe someone.
Oh, yep. So here we go. Here we go. Somebody's, I'm assuming that's ground. Yeah. They're using the same cameras that they use for the launches.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see
Bekah, run out to the beach. See if you can see it.
Really?
Stage 1 has burned out.
Oh, there it
Attitude
is,
and
yeah.
flight path are
I
nominal.
bet they're in boats. I don't think we'd be able to see it because if they're
Approximately
50
10
or 100
seconds
miles
until
out, I
stage
don't.
1
I don't even
separation.
think-
Oh, wow. Oh, there it goes. Oh, cool.
Stage 1 separation confirmed.
Nice.
Stage 2 ignition has been confirmed and attitude is nominal.
Oh, that's a cool shot when it separates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Boy, they
footage
got
is-
a
Stage 2 TVC
got a lot
is
of hot
operating
pixels
as
on their camera
expected to
sensor.
control the flight of the vehicle.
Right? That's what I'm like. Kind of
Those
looks
are
like
not
an old-
stars.
Right?
Those are hot
Yeah.
pixels.
They're using the old Apollo cameras.
Yeah.
Hey, they still work.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
I
pretty-
thought mine was bad, man. I got one of my oldest camera. It just has so many hot pixels on it,
Oh, yeah.
and there's I've looked up fixes and stuff. There's like nothing you can do about it.
I just edited
Fairing
them out.
deployment has been confirmed.
Yeah.
Both halves have been separated.
Nice.
Vehicle attitude remains nominal after fairing separation.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
congrats.
not done yet, but congrats
Yeah.
to the Icon
Yeah,
team and
definitely.
everyone involved.
So
Over
this
a
is
year in the making.
they've been trying to do
Power
this for a
buses
year,
remain
and it just
strong with
happened.
excellent
Yep.
Yep.
marketing.
Well over a year. They've
Yeah,
been
they've
trying to
had
launch this for a while.
yeah, they've had many scrubs.
Stage 2 motor
Many.
burnout. Attitude remains
Aw.
nominal.
Yep. A lot of happy folks.
At this point in the mission, the vehicle enters a long ballistic coast phase as it gains
And now their
altitude, waiting
scientists can
for
get started.
the
They've been
proper
waiting.
time to ignite the
They've been
stage 3
sitting at
motor.
their desk, twiddling their thumbs.
Good telemetry
Wait for that
with
feed to
S-band
come
on
up.
stage 3.
Well,
All right.
all right. Well, I'm gonna mute that. I'll keep it up on the stream, but
That is really cool.
all right, Becky.
Okay, so
Let's hear some notes.
not last week, but the week before, when you all got together and did the live stream during Elon's presentation,
Yeah.
I was at work, but I really wanted to come to the next episode of Pressing for Flight armed with some knowledge. So part of my job requires me to drive. And so I was just writing some notes down in my notebook. I keep a notebook with me at all times. So I was writing some notes down in my notebook, listening to this talk. And I think I learned a lot.
Really?
But I haven't read this since I wrote it. So
Now,
I'm
what
gonna-
was did you find like the first part where it was just Elon talking? Did you find that really informative?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's so cute, bless his heart.
Yeah,
Like
he's a
how
terrible
he just
speaker.
he messes up
Yeah.
his words, and it makes me feel bad. It's like how I can't watch the Olympics because these people have been working so hard for these things for their entire life, and if they mess up, they're just done. You
Yeah.
know, so it's hard for me to watch stuff like that. And it's hard for me to watch Elon, who's just such a smart person, a dynamic person, and he struggles to inform someone with my intelligence level of these things.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah,
he tells
I like
something that
that.
he thinks it's funny, he does that little.
So where I jumped in to the talk was where he began talking about the 6 Raptor engines. And so that's where I started writing, and I have no context. I don't remember what about the Raptor
Well,
engines.
you've
So
played Ark.
yeah, I've seen dinosaurs before, but what confuses me is 3 of the Raptors are supposed to be sea level and they move, and then the other 3 are vacuum and they don't move.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It means some of them are just there for cleaning. Just suck up the
Inter-
dirt. No. So I don't know what the differences are like up in all the piping and the tubing and stuff, but what I've come to understand is that the main difference with the vacuum engine from a sea level is the length and shape of the cone. Help me out. What's the damn thing called? The engine bell.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're at sea level, there's a lot of air pressure
The
pushing
nozzle.
down. Yeah, the nozzle. There's a lot of air pressure pushing down and in and stuff. So think about when we were watching the Falcon 9 launch, and whenever it lifts off, you see this stream of fire coming straight down, right?
Right.
And the reason it's coming straight down is because the air pressure around it is forcing it in, and they've figured out the most optimum shape of that engine bell, so that because when you have this explosion coming out of this tiny hole, some of it's going to go straight out, and some of it's going to want to go out to the sides. But when it goes out to the sides, you're losing thrust that way because
Right.
it's pushing out away. So you want to try to funnel that energy down. I'm pointing out, but you want to funnel it down. So you use the engine bell to direct that force downward. Now, as it got up higher into the atmosphere, that air pressure it gets lower, and so there's not as much air pushing the rocket plume back together, right? Because we see it expand out, and I guess it is losing some efficiency with that, and that's why whenever they get up into the vacuum of space, they want to change the shape of that bell, and it actually make it longer. And I'm not sure if it ends up a wider angle or whatever. It does end up wider at the end, but that helps keep that plume forcing it down where you want it, right?
Okay.
So what they decided to do was on the upper stage of Starship, which that is Starship. The booster stage is called Super Heavy. Super Heavy will be all sea level engines. So they'll be the smaller, shorter engine bells that don't really need to help force that thrust downward. But up in space, it was the vacuum engines that don't gimbal, right?
Yeah.
What,
That's what I was remember.
is that right?
The ones that
And
don't.
All right.
Yeah.
it's the sea level engines that do the gimbling, right? And
Yeah.
now gimbling is like you take the entire engine and you sway it whichever way you want it to go, and that will affect what direction it's going, right?
Right.
So, does anybody remember why they decided? I guess because Starship is gonna work in space and on like close to the ground because it has to land, right? So they're gonna use their sea level engines for landing, and then use the vacuum engines for traveling around in space. And even though the vacuum engines don't gimbal, they can still like thrust, like power the thrust differently or throttle them differently to adjust what direction it's going. So if you have three and they're in a triangle and you want to turn a certain way, you can power. I just lost my SpaceX X. You can throttle one higher and one lower, and then it's gonna help turn your spacecraft one way or the other. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah. I'm confused
And
about.
there are great videos out there that can explain that way better than me, and I'm sure Scott Manley has them, and so does Everyday Astronaut. I will always refer you people out there to Scott Manley and Everyday Astronaut. Everything that I know or think I know, I got from them.
Why are the engines called sea level?
Because they are optimized for maximum efficiency at sea level.
Compared to what?
Compared to vacuum. Really. I mean, it's basically operating within Earth's atmosphere versus operating outside of Earth's atmosphere.
So is it basically the vacuum ones are called vacuum because they're meant to be used in space.
Yeah,
and then the sea level ones are just Earth ones.
Right. Well, and probably optimized for sea level because that's when you need the most thrust. Is because when you're because I mean, well, all these launch pads are at sea level because they're all right on the coast. So you optimize your engine for maximum thrust at launch because that's when you need it the most. That's when your rocket's the heaviest. As soon as you light the engines, your rocket's getting lighter and lighter and lighter because you're pouring out fuel. It's like tons and tons of fuel are being burned per second. So every second that goes by, your rocket's getting lighter. So as you rise up into the atmosphere, you don't need as much thrust. So it's probably smart to optimize it for that initial burst of energy. You need as much of that thrust pushing you upwards as possible so that you're not wasting any of that energy while you're still close to the ground.
Pesky gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one line from my 5 pages of notes that we've been over.
Sweet.
We're not going to be able to keep it up at this pace.
No.
All right. So the next thing I had written down, and once again, just no context. I was driving. Heat shield, tiny glass vermicelli, light and crack resistant. So he was talking about the heat shield. I don't understand what is tiny glass vermicelli. It's a thing that the heat shield is made out of.
I'm guessing, yeah. I don't know. Vermicelli?
That's what he said. That's like noodles.
Is it?
I think because of the shape. Is that what he was trying to say? Because of the shape, it's a hexagon?
I'm not sure how to spell vermicelli, but hopefully.
It's just like it sounds.
Oh, vermicelli. Vermicelli?
Yes.
Okay. Pasta made in long, slender threads. They're gonna coat the bottom of Starship with pasta.
Yeah,
that's gonna work.
Pasta.
Well,
there's
that's
some images.
Yeah, that's not really gonna help. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's actually,
Worded that right?
or if that's like it could be another word that sounds like that. Excuse me.
I'm pretty sure he said vermicelli.
Well,
I'll do some
don't know.
homework and I'll come back next week with the answer to that one.
But the whole thing about the cracking and stuff, like one of the biggest issues, one of the hardest problems they had to tackle with Space Shuttle was the heat tiles, because they kept falling off and they're very crack resistant, right? Like weren't they like really brittle? Kegel, you know somebody that worked on them.
Yeah, they are. The coating was very brittle. I mean, even heavy moisture, rain would crack them.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a problem.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You just don't come in when it's raining.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really hard to make a lightweight heat shield that's going to be effective and be reusable. And that's kind of what he was talking about there.
So he's making it out of rice noodles or something.
Yeah.
That's what I've written down for myself.
Okay.
That's
So
what
when
I
it lands, dinner's ready. Just throw some sauce on it. There you go.
Perfect. He thinks of everything, that guy.
Good.
All right, so I learned a little bit about 301 stainless steel from the presentation.
Elon loves steel.
He really does. He talked about it with love in his
Stronger in the
heart.
vacuum.
I think it. I think,
or no, stronger. Was it? It's
Stronger
when
in
it's
colder conditions.
colder and hotter, right?
Cryogenic.
Or it's like,
temperatures.
yeah, cryogenic temperatures. It's stronger and it withstands heat very well.
Better, yeah.
Yeah.
Its melting temperature is 1500
Yeah.
of something. I didn't write down if it was
Celsius or Fahrenheit.
what it was measured by, but it's 1500 of something.
Melting point is real high.
Yeah.
And
I think the reason that he loves steel so much is it may have saved Starship, because they were going down this path of carbon fiber, and it was going to be real hard to manufacture the entire thing out of carbon fiber, and they were going to have to like develop methods of handling it, because it's like the technology in carbon fiber hadn't come along far enough, and so it was going to take a really long time. And someone either got to him and pleaded their case on steel, or maybe he thought of it on his own. Who knows? But when they switched to steel, and honestly, it's funny that we're talking about this, but I was listening to I think it was Main Engine Cutoff / We Martians. Those two guys pair up a lot. Those two podcasts, and they were talking about how much progress has been made since they switched to steel. It's like all of a sudden they switched to steel, and now we see a Starship within a year. Like it was about this time last year. It was right after the Dear Moon presentation. It was like a few weeks later, where Elon said, "We're going to steel," and everyone's like, "What?" Like they had just gotten all this stuff together with the Port of L.A. They were going to build it at the Port of L.A. They had the big tent. You guys remember this, right? They had that that huge mandrel. They put out that picture with the Tesla parked right next to it, and this thing was massive. And it was just a tool that they were going to use to roll this carbon fiber and stuff, and that was the thing. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, "Nope, we're doing steel," and now we have a Starship.
Here you go. Becca, do you want to see a short video from Elon of what the heat tiles look like being heated up?
Of what now?
The heat tiles, what they look like, and them being, I'm going to put it on.
Oh yeah.
Screen.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is them testing those heat tiles. And actually, on one of the recent Cargo Dragon missions up to the space station, they had a few of their heat tiles were replaced by their new heat tiles that they're intending to use on Starship, just as a test to see how they hold up. What else you got?
Well, Elon, he didn't necessarily present it this way, but this is the way that I took it. A list of pros of stainless steel.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to weld, lighter, cheaper, resilient to the elements. In love with it.
Oh yeah.
That's what he said.
He made his bed out of it.
Yeah, he definitely likes it. That's for sure.
Yeah, there was some. He talked about dollar amounts, and it was like per pound. Carbon fiber was like 1,200 something per pound, but steel was like $12 or something. It's like a ridiculous price difference, and so just switching to steel, it's like it was like a godsend. The fact that he could do that was, it's like maybe he was seeing his dream slip through his fingers because of carbon fiber, and then all of a sudden steel walks through the door. It's like, hey, how you doing?
Like, hey, how are you?
Well,
shiny.
One thing that I thought was very important that he said was, long is wrong, tight is right.
Yep. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to make sure to
seemed
live my life
like a shout out to other programs that are ongoing.
Yeah, we'll just quotations around other.
Yes, other programs.
Others that are way over.
That take a long time to do things.
Yeah, well,
we don't know anybody like that.
SLS.
I learned from Elon that the easiest way to get funding for all the stuff that they want to do is to find aliens.
Find the aliens.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, if we found aliens, then
You think people start throwing money at it so that we could get closer to them?
I think it'd be more out of fear.
Yeah, but why would you try to get closer out of fear?
No, I mean like for funding wise, because people would want to.
Well, yeah, like we would definitely want to accelerate our capabilities if we knew there were aliens, intelligent aliens. We would want to, like, we'd be like, we don't have an Enterprise. We don't have spaceships that are capable of getting up there and doing anything. Let's throw money at something that could get us up there and get hardware and people up there in mass quantities.
I think we would have to definitely make sure that we had the upper hand, though. Like if we were throwing money at it, we were gonna have to be strong.
Pretty sure, yeah.
And have the high ground.
Yeah, we don't want Independence Day to happen again.
No, again.
Again. So here's the one that I think I have the most questions about, and I don't know if you guys discussed this at all, but if it had taken, he said this, if it had taken 10% longer for life to evolve, it wouldn't have happened at all.
Yeah, that's not an out there statement.
Well, I've never heard it before. I never thought about it that way. How can you quantify something like that? How can you...
it's. I mean, it's theoretical, I guess, but I think
I think they're just he was. Well, I guess they believe that all the conditions were right at this one moment to have.
He's saying 10% longer in the age of the universe. So if the universe is 14 billion years old, and life took another 1.4 billion years to. So let's see, life. So the Earth's been here for like 4.5, or our solar system rather has been here for about 4.5 billion years. Earth has been Earth for probably 3 or so billion years. So
I know some people that would doubt that.
Well, right, and I'm not sure on the numbers, so forgive me if I'm wrong on how many billions each thing is, but I think basically what he's saying is, in terms of the universe, if life started on Earth 3 billion years ago, it may not have been able to start 1.5 billion years ago or something like that, right? Because the conditions are going to change and it might not have that opportunity. And one of his things, and one of the things that really drew me towards him whenever I first discovered Elon, was that we have this window of opportunity where we are the only intelligent species on this planet with the capability of having a space program in a time that is peaceful enough to be able to put things into space, and this window may not be open forever.
Yeah.
And that we have to take advantage of it while we can, because we may not have an extinction event, but we may have something that knocks out our ability to go to space. And if, like, we would be real disappointed if that happened, because it would put us back so far. You know, it could be 100 years or more, you know, before we got back to the point where we could start launching things again.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he was talking about there.
Okay.
Becky.
Thank you.
Stevie.
So the rest of the stuff that I wrote down was mostly just like facts. So I had there something about starting to build the Mach 3 in a month.
Mark. Yeah, it sounds like
Mark?
he's saying Mach, but
Mach,
yeah, it's
okay.
Mark. Yeah.
Okay, and then he was mentioning other marks, 3 and 4. Switch from hot gas thrusters to cold. I don't know. That has something to do
Cold
with
gas.
marks.
Yeah, well, he was saying go from cold gas thrusters to hot gas thrusters. The way cold gas thrusters work, and Falcon 9 uses them, they're using, is it nitrogen or helium? What is the gas? Do you guys remember what they use? There's these little thrusters that go pss, 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 and it helps position. You know, Falcon 9's like this, and if it needs to go over here, it's got these little thrusters that go pss, pss, and it, you know, helps turn it over one way or the other. And they use that while they're landing. I don't know if they use them actually in flight. It seems like they probably don't. But that's got to be a separate system and a separate fuel that powers that system, right? They're using this cold gas, whether I want to say it's nitrogen, but I could be totally wrong.
It says it's a liquid oxygen and as an oxidizer.
For the cold gas thruster?
Well, it doesn't say about cold.
Yeah, but what the hot gas thruster would be is they would be using the methane and liquid oxygen that they already are using for their main engines, the Raptor, but they would funnel some of that out to these thrusters and use those for their guidance. It's control, guidance and control, right? What are you laughing at?
I have some information from friend of the show, Stephanie, about the heat shield.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was said by Elon, the heat shield is like tiny glass vermicelli. While the stainless steel resists high temperatures, heat shields protect at high temperature areas. These hexagonal tiles are very light, crack-resistant glass tiles. They're fully reusable with low maintenance, and it resembles tiny glass vermicelli at a microstructural level.
Okay. Okay. Now it makes sense.
Woven.
Yeah, like when you look at a ball of dry noodles, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah. Okay. I'm picturing like traditional ramen, not like top ramen, like actual ramen from a actual
The good
Japanese
stuff.
place. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Stephanie. We really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching.
Oh, she's so nice.
Thanks for reminding me that I got to make more ramen.
Yeah. You ever throw an egg in there?
No, I make my ramen from scratch.
Oh, really? You actually make ramen?
Oh, yeah. I make ramen from. It takes me over a day to make my ramen.
Just wait for the Starship. You'll have all kinds.
Yeah, it takes me over a day to make my ramen because I make the broth and everything. I use bones to make my broth. Yeah,
bones.
Take a bunch of like beef bone, cow bone. You go like Publix or anywhere and just get some like beef bone and put it in the crock pot. Let it sit for over a day and just do its thing.
I just buy that
bone broth.
Bone broth, yeah,
very
good stuff. Put in some cilantro in there, some diced green onion, some sliced pork. Oh, it's good stuff. Good, very good.
Never talk about onion around Bekah.
You just can't do it.
She ain't a fan.
What's wrong with onions?
I shut my ears off.
She's so allergic she can't even hear the word.
Onions are amazing.
That's just a little fun fact about me.
Yeah.
That's Flavor Town right there, though.
And if you hate onions, you can follow Bekah at Game Master Bekah on Twitter.
And tell me about it.
And you can talk about onions and how much you hate them.
Like onions are terrible.
We'll
Right.
commiserate together about how every menu at every restaurant of all time will list every ingredient that something has in it, even down to like pepper and salt, but they will forget to put onions.
Oh.
Every menu in every restaurant does that.
Because onions like a given, or are they like they don't worry about it?
I guess so. I guess that's how they feel about it.
That's just
That makes
wrong.
sense. That makes sense.
All right,
No,
what
it
else you
doesn't.
got?
The rear fins on something are legs, not needed for stabilization or guidance. Just legs.
Oh, on Super Heavy. That's the booster. That's like
Yeah.
the part of Falcon 9 that lands. You know, that's the first stage booster. It's the same thing on Starship. The booster is actually, it has its own name. It's called Super Heavy.
So why
it's, yeah,
does it have legs?
because it's
If
going to
they're not-
land.
It's got to
If they're,
land.
but it's not needed for stabilization or
Well,
guidance.
Just means
stabilization during flight.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It just
Yeah.
means when it's just there to land.
It does
Yeah.
need stabilization when it's
Yeah,
on its
yeah.
legs on the ground. Okay.
They don't want
That
it
is
falling over.
that is weird though, because it seems like it would be much harder to land a thing that has fins on the ground. If they're
Right.
not needed, why not have them fold out? Probably they're just, if they're permanent, they're just more stable, because that thing is heavy.
Yeah.
It's super
gonna be a lot
heavy.
Yeah. Hence the name.
Actually, can somebody pull up a concept of what that's going to look like so you can show her, so she can see what you're talking about,
See what we're working with.
or anybody who's
I want to see
watching
them
who
legs.
doesn't know, yeah, or if anybody's watching doesn't know what we're talking about.
Stephanie wants to see those legs.
Yeah, show them legs. So show them shinies.
Let's see if I can just get.
What are we
some
talking about?
images.
It's not that type of feel.
Let's see. Well, no, that's not an updated one. Yeah, I'm showing. I'm just trying to do an image search, and it's not. Let's see. What can I do? Oh, I could go to the SpaceX Reddit, because or not Reddit, but Twitter, because I'm pretty sure that they have not tweeted much since then, so I should be able to find that pretty quick.
Yeah, just doing some research.
Yeah, don't mind us.
Doing it live.
We're doing it live.
We're live.
No, they're all pictures of Starship itself.
I'll never see those legs.
Yeah, I know. I've seen them, and I've seen renders of them.
Kegel, pull up paint and draw it for me.
Oh wait, I know. Here, this is easy. Okay, yeah, here. Oh, I guess I could. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, I'd like to see
I've
it.
got the like the concept video or whatever of what launch would look like. There you go, right there. Oh, it just got fuzzy. Hang on, sharpen it. There we go. Now you see those
There
fins.
it is.
Yeah, these fins back here.
Those are its legs.
Mm-hmm.
Not needed for stabilization
There you go. That's
or
good.
guidance.
Yep. Yeah, it's not necessary, and that sounds totally right, because most rockets don't have them. I mean, the Saturn V did have them, but most rockets don't, because the engines can gimbal to if the back of the rocket kicks out sideways or something, those engines are very responsive. As soon as that starts to happen, they can immediately correct it. So you don't need those fins.
There you go, Bekah. I found a pretty good image. That's not in the video.
Is it going to show it land on its legs in that video?
I just saw it. I just showed it.
Oh,
Right here. Oh, there it goes. There. See,
I
coming
guess
down.
I didn't have your screen clicked on it. It was on
Okay.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it does.
All right. They're just legs.
They're just
They're
legs.
legs.
They're not
Just
there
legs.
for stabilization.
Nope. Just there to be shiny.
The two final things I have written down that are not just weird facts with absolutely no context whatsoever are that orbital refueling is harder. It's harder to dock with space station than it is to do it. What? Okay, it's harder to dock with the space station than it is to refuel in orbit. That's what I meant there. Is
Or
that
maybe it's harder to dock with the space station than it is to rendezvous and dock with just another starship. I think because the actual refueling process, they're in the middle of it right now, figuring that part out. And actually, NASA has given them a relatively small amount of money to research that, and some expertise in researching in orbit refueling, because on the ground you can just pump things. You go to the gas pump, and there is a pump that sits down in the gasoline, down in the big tank that's underground, and just pumps stuff up. But in space, when you have a tank that's full of fuel, it's not gonna be in just one spot. It's not gonna settle to the bottom of the tank, because there is gravity, but we're not going to get into how much gravity. You're in a microgravity environment, so that fuel is inside that tank just floating around, and you need a way to force it into a tunnel, a pipe that's going to then push it into the other rocket, right? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fuel's just in there floating around, and they have to figure out a way to get the fuel from one starship to the other. And the reason they need to do that is because once you've made it to orbit, you've depleted most of your fuel. So wouldn't it be nice if you had some other starships that's their sole purpose, is to carry fuel up, and then
Well,
just
who's going to
transfer.
refuel them?
You fuel them on the ground.
Sounds like what we need to do is find an alternate fuel source in space.
That's true. We do need to do that. But in the meantime, what they plan on doing is they'll, like, let's say they're going to Mars, and they have everybody on board, and they launch everybody up into space. Now they've depleted a lot of the fuel that's on board Starship, but in order to get where they're going and have enough fuel to do what they need to do when they get there, they need to top off the tank. So they want to send up multiple other launches, other starships with fuel to spare. They need enough fuel, that they can refuel and then still have enough fuel to come back. Because there's only one way to get down. Once you're in orbit, you can't come back down unless you have fuel. So you need to be able to slow yourself back down to come back into the atmosphere, and then you need to still have fuel left to land. So they're going to send up several starships to refuel the one.
And where does that happen? Where does it? Just wherever they meet, like they.
I mean, it'll all be planned. It'll be it'll all be pretty routine. Like it's all going to happen pretty much the same way, because the Starship, once it's in orbit, will stay in orbit, and then hell, it might take days, because you gotta wait for the Earth to rotate underneath Starship enough so that Cape Canaveral comes back around and is underneath it, and then you launch another one, and then it can rendezvous with it, and they do their refueling operations, and then hopefully the next day it's going to line up again. Which you could. I'm pretty sure they're smart enough. They could pick an orbit where they could make this happen every day.
Would it be out of the question to, in my head, I have a gas station type situation in space.
Absolutely.
So you have the ship, the ships that are, their sole purpose is to deliver fuel to this one spot in the middle of whatever kind of orbit is, so it's not out of the question to think that can happen.
And keep shuttling fuel up there, and just have this one spot in space where they have a bunch of fuel.
Could they do that? Is that possible?
They can.
And that's how we get space truckers.
Yeah, space truckers.
Space road truckers. We just came up with a new show. DM. We'll make a show. We'll
Mark
do it.
that timestamp. Yeah, no, that's something that is totally, the people do already talk about. Like, how are we going to do fuel depots? And that it could either be that we're launching fuel up to one point just so we can have a stockpile of fuel, so that you don't have to wait so long for fuel to be delivered to you. You could just go and visit this fuel depot somewhere in orbit around Earth, fuel up, and then go where you need to go. Or hopefully we figure out how to grab asteroids and mine them and get whatever they got on board. Now the thing is Starship is fueled by liquid oxygen and methane, so I don't know if you can find asteroids that have what you need to be able to make the methane. I don't know enough about chemistry and stuff. I
Just
don't
bring
know.
some cows up.
Get farting. Do it now.
Graze on the moon.
Come on, cows. We need you. It's like by then we've stopped eating cows, and all we need them for is their farts.
Yeah, I just need methane.
And with that, you have answered all of the questions that Elon did not.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
He should have came here. He would have learned a lot.
Well, I feel like that's a good place to wrap up. Y'all.
Wrap it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a good show.
I've had a great time.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Lots of laughs.
I can't wait for the day that we're able to be like, and we've got this launch coming up, and we've got this launch coming up, and this launch. But as it is right now, we don't even have a launch in October now. Like we haven't had a launch since the end of.
It's pending. Yeah,
of
it's
August.
pending right now.
Yeah, it's looking like Starlink isn't going to launch until early November.
Yeah.
We had a date. It was October 17th, and then everywhere that launch dates are announced, they have all turned to TBD.
Yep.
So we don't know when Starlink's going. But I mean, we should still have a few more launches before the end of the year.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a dry spell right now.
Yep. It's the longest dry spell I think I've experienced since I've lived.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much. It's like, man, come on already.
Let's see. The last launch was in August. It was like the second half of August, and so we're going to be going on 2 months, 2.5. But we'll have some, and and also I will soon. I don't know, maybe in the next month, have a second iPhone, so that whenever I'm out at the port and there's something interesting going on, I can stream, and I'll probably do it to the Twitter. I feel like if I'm like on location or something, I feel like Twitter might be the place to do that. So make sure you're following us on Twitter. It's Pressing for Flight. That's the number 4 in there. Pressing for Flight. You can follow me. I tweet at Space Coast Steve. That's Space Coast _STVE. Matt over here, Matt Cutshaw, he tweets at booster_buddies. Stephen Kegel, I should be like highlighting, like circling you guys with my cursor. Stephen Kegel, he lives did we measure it? You live about a mile from
like 1.2 miles
from Starship. So you want to follow him. He's Florida Steve 321. That's FLA Steve 321. Yeah. And Bekah, the Game Master Bekah, and that's her Twitter handle. Game Master Bekah.
You figure it out.
You figure it out. She's only seen like 3 launches. We need more launches.
5.
Yeah.
I've seen 5, and I'm excited about the rest. I think one will happen on my birthday. They're getting pushed back. My birthday is in November. I think one will happen on my birthday.
There you go. All right. Well, cool.
That's the spirit.
I think we have something to close us out.
Alrighty.
Shutdown sequence initiated. Shutting down.